Go ahead.
Thank you, Evan, and thank you for everyone who has joined us tonight for District 7170's public image education session for this year. I am Melissa Tortolot. I am a member of the Owego Rotary Club, and I'll be talking to you tonight about social media and how you can leverage social media for your Rotary Club connections in your community and for your events and your fundraisers. Um, I have more than 20 years experience in marketing and communication, and I currently work for Guthrie and Sayre. And I'm excited to help you understand what is available in the social media space and to show you that it's not that easy. Not that easy. It is not that hard to use. Let's see if we can get like this. Okay, so as I stated, our objective tonight is to identify the ways social media can help your Rotary Club achieve specific goals. We're going to talk about what sites are the most important and why, how to make and find interesting content, and how to identify and engage the people you're trying to reach. There's also ways that you connect with more people through paid advertising, and we're going to touch on that briefly tonight. It's not that hard to do. These are great ways to connect with potential new Rotary Club members, improve your fundraising, increase attendance at your in-person and online events, and also strengthen your relationships with your community connections as well as your club membership. $3.6 billion. I used a really big font. It's a really big number. Because it represents all of the people in the world who are currently on social networking sites. So the figures are growing as mobile device usage and mobile social networks gain traction. Mobile devices are easier to get a hold of, and they're really growing in underserved markets around the world. Even if you prefer email or a phone call, digital media is offering an opportunity that we can't afford to ignore, because that's where we're going to reach those people that we want to engage in our communities and where we're going to attract our new members. So that begs the question, where is everybody? There are dozens of social media sites, and we are a volunteer organization. We have limited resources and time, so we really need to be very specific about where we're going to focus our time and energy to have the greatest impact in this kind of wild west of social media sites online. I pulled some data together just to give you a basic understanding of what the landscape looks like. So this chart is from Statista, and it shows the most popular social media platforms in 2021. We're going to start by talking about the number 2 player in the space, and that is YouTube, which you, I'm sure, are all familiar with, which is owned by Google. YouTube has 2.3 billion active users. That's 84% of the number 1 platform. It's a video-based site. It has wide appeal. Let's see. YouTube users in the United States are really 78% of Americans, all ages, ethnicities, all levels of economic prosperity. YouTube generates the second most traffic of all websites in the world, second only to Google that owns YouTube. And this means is that our audiences are frequently referencing YouTube for everything from entertainment as well as how-to videos. It's popular with an equal amount of men and women, and 72% of internet users who use the platform are using it on a regular basis. 58% of baby boomers watch YouTube. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't like TV. I know you might say, well, I still like TV. That's true, but 58% of baby boomers are still going to YouTube to get information. More than 18 to 34%, more 18 to 34-year-olds than any other TV network are on YouTube, more than any other TV network. So what this says is, as where our membership becomes younger, we need to be in this space. Now, creating video can be done expensively or on the cheap, like recording presentations like we're doing tonight, But in either case, it is a time-intensive operation. So I don't advocate for clubs creating daily or weekly or maybe even monthly videos, but YouTube is a great tool for us as Rotarians. We can share training videos, we can share stories about the difference our club makes in the communities. And as users are on YouTube, they're fed more content based on their interests. And that's a place where we can spread the word about what Rotary can do and can gain and what members gain by being members of our clubs. Nobody's going to be faced about who's number one. Facebook is number one in the space, no shock. It's the market leader, the first social network to surpass 1 billion registered accounts, and it currently sits at more than 2.6 billion monthly active users. The company owns 3 additional social media platforms. These may look familiar. We've got Instagram, Facebook Messenger, and WhatsApp. And the Facebook and these other properties are going to be the focus of the balance of our discussion today. Mostly because not only are these social media platforms the ones that have the most active users, it's the platforms where users spend the most time. Facebook users have an average usage of almost 60 minutes a day. On top of that, it's one of the easier platforms to create content for and to share content. So we're getting to the most people with the least amount of effort. And that's really a great place for volunteer organizations to focus their energies. So who are the Facebook users in the US today? When you're thinking about who's you're going to reach through Facebook, it really, again, is all ages. Um, there are over 240 million Facebook users in North America. That's almost double the number that was reported in 2010. It's incredible growth that speaks to the seismic shift in where people are getting their information. 190 million of those people are in the US alone. And despite what you may have heard, Facebook is not just for old people. Okay. Different generations are using Facebook for different purposes. As of January in 2021, male and female users aged 25 to 34 years old were the biggest group of Facebook users in the United States, each accounting for 12.7% of the social network's user base reach. So you can see really whether you're trying to reach someone who is a younger, person, a mid-careerist, or even for our baby boomer generation, we have great representation on Facebook all across these different segments. Instagram is the other property that I want to talk about today. So Instagram is owned by Facebook, and Instagram is really started as a photo sharing site. If you want to get messages specifically to younger users, Instagram is a great additional resource. Instagram has 71% of its users in this 18 to 29-year-old category. 63% of the users are on site daily, 97% monthly. And while Facebook is stagnating at the 58 to 60 minutes that users spend per day, Instagram is gaining in popularity. So they, in the last year, have grown from 26 minutes a day to 29 minutes a day. So this is a place where people are going to spend more time. Oh, by 2023, that's expected to grow another 5 minutes as well. So this isn't an either or. As I mentioned, it's owned by the same company as Facebook, and it's possible to post to both Facebook and Instagram at the same time. So you don't necessarily have to do double work. I can show you how to place a paid ad on both. It's as easy as adding an extra check to a box later in the presentation. And this is a way that you can reach more people on multiple platforms, because when you want a message to stick, you really need to share it not once, not twice, but as many as 7 times. So all of these different touch points are going to help you get a better result in whatever it is that you're trying to communicate. So nearly every adult American is using one of these platforms. How do we get them to see us and hear us and see our message is more important than perhaps the next one they may be scrolling through in their social media feed? that really isn't as tricky as you might think that it is. You need to catch their eye. You need to use photos or video to make sure that your posts don't get missed. In 2019, mobile accounted for 79% of social media site visits. So you want to make sure that your posts are mobile phone friendly. That means making sure that the images are clear. You don't add any additional text that might be too small to read on a phone, just very basic. And you want to focus on faces because that's what the human eye is trained to respond to. That's what's going to make people stop if they feel like they can engage with that photo. Almost 3/4 of the global population right now uses a mobile phone, and nearly 80% of time is spent on social media is spent on a mobile device. So this is really critical that in this small format, whatever it is you're trying to convey is easy to identify and looks appealing. Um, on on Instagram, images that have people in them get more engagement. So focusing on the people in your clubs and the people that you're helping is a way to make sure that you will get the attention that you want on the projects or the activities that you're promoting. Um, the other opportunity here is video. So as I said earlier, making video can be challenging. It can take a lot of time. You want it to look right and professional, and you may feel insecure about creating video, but we each have a video camera right here, our phones in our hand. And if you use just a short video clip, it doesn't have to be an Oscar-winning full-length feature film. It could even be as short as 10 to 20 seconds. If that's what you post on your Facebook post, you're going to get a favorable response by Facebook because their algorithm will prioritize the people that it'll push it out more to more people to see it, to see how they respond. So that algorithm will give you the advantage if you choose to take a risk and do some video. Now, you note that you can create the post, but what does the post say? And how do you get people to pay attention and then share that information? You really want to give them something to talk about. And for most people, unfortunately, it starts with the question, what's in it for me? One of the common mistakes that we make when we communicate is thinking that people care about us and they're interested in what we have to say, that they know who we are, they know what we do, and they're going to give us the time to fully explain our biggest, best idea, which may be terrific and it may be interesting. But people today, even those who have the interest, are overwhelmed by the amount of content that's available. Consumers around the world are spending an average of over 7.5 hours a day with media. And American consumers tend to average more time than most, as media is part of everything that we do all day. So in order to break away from all of the other messages that are out there, we need to let them know why they should be interested. What is it that we have to offer that's going to make their life better or more interesting or ultimately make them feel good? You want to pick an image or a video that's going to catch their eye and create an emotional response. This is a basic of all types of advertising, whether you're in a digital platform or on television or even in a newspaper ad. You want them to care. And in order to care, for them to care, you have to key in on something that's important to them. So it's not about us, but more about what we are doing that's of interest to them. So think about what you're saying as through their lens versus through ours. Don't start with the who, what, where, when, why. We all learned that in school. And it was a very good format for long form writing for the time when we learned that in English class. But today we've only got a very short period of time. So you have to start with the wow. And the wow is kind of like that payoff sentence of like why it is they should care. If you've got their attention, then you have the opportunity to give all those details about what they need to do next. So you want to be clear and concise after you get their attention to give them those basic elements of what time and where and what to do next. That's actually called a call to action. One of my favorite authors, Brene Brown, shares in her Dare to Lead book the notion of clear is kind. I think it's made its way into popular culture pretty pervasively. So clear is kind to me means that when we're reaching out to our audience, the people that we want to engage, not only do we want them to understand that this will be a benefit to them to give us their time and attention, but if then they're interested, make it really easy for them to respond. So whether it's a click on an ad, or if it's as simple as here's the location, the time, and the date, show up, do them the favor and make it easy for them so they don't have to guess what to do next. You'll be surprised if you look through a Facebook feed of how many times you have to kind of think about the post that's there, which is of course well intended and took someone's time and energy, but makes it a little too challenging for the person to complete, for the audience to complete whatever action the person who created the post intended. So once you write your post, before you click publish, you want to make sure you look at it and say, do I have all of the basics there to make it easy for people to do what it is that I've asked them to do? I do have a few samples that we could talk about today, or review to see, what does a good ad look like? What are the elements? What are examples of these elements that I've discussed? So the best way to see what you like and what you think works and what you're responding to is to really get inspired by looking at other pages. Look at these samples here today and then keep doing that in your life to see, what is it that makes this a post that I'm clicking like on? I clicked like, wait, stop a minute. What do you think was different about this versus maybe something else that you've seen? If you follow other social media pages that catch your eye, you can use their ideas. And if there are other Rotary pages, you can share the content that they have that helps them spread the good word. If it's a common Rotary International theme, that's the intention of social media, is for us to share this information, proliferate it together. So it's borrowing and resharing their great content is actually helping them. It's not stealing. So I want to be very clear about that. This first sample that I have here, I said to you, be careful about using text. In this case, you can see that the text, it's treated like a billboard. There are very few words in this piece of art. The colors and the logo are very distinctive. So even though they're small, a Rotarian would, of course, respond to those elements, be familiar with them. And the call to action is in the art and very clear: register today. If you look at the text up above, you can see that there is a link that you can click on. So when sign up is now available, you simply have to click on this blue text. So even if you only skimmed the 2.5 lines of copy that were there, it would be very clear what we want them to do and how to get that done. Those are great graphics for events that you are trying to get people to participate in, is to be very crisp. Here's a sample from Rotary International that shows people with faces doing an activity. What are they doing? It creates curiosity. So this is not one where we necessarily want people to take an action, but more create a sense of understanding about what is important to us as an organization. You can see at the bottom here, this is a video. And what I really love about this video, of course, it's much more high end than what we would probably produce locally. But it has the text there. So when you're skimming through, if you don't have your audio turned up on your phone, you're in a public area, waiting for the dentist, you don't want to have that full audio experience from your phone and be that guy in the waiting room. So the text is there so you can still follow along. It's still meaningful. One of the really cool recent features from Facebook in the last year or year and a half is that if you upload a video that you shot yourself, it will automatically create the text captions at the bottom, which you can edit before you post it, should it have understood anything incorrectly. So this is not any fancy software you need to buy. It's not any super complicated process. You can auto caption the video just with a click of a box right before you hit publish. So that's a really good tip, especially if it's just a short video and you want to tell people, hey, come down to see us at the Strawberry Festival and make sure to get your strawberry shortcake next year. This is an opportunity for you to make this more accessible to people who will not have the audio necessarily turned on when they're skimming through. It still makes it a value for them to stop. Any videos that you post, really, you want to keep them less than a minute, and truly that 10 to 20 seconds for the types of things that we're doing, which does not seem as imposing for us as creators, does the job. it still gets, if you plan ahead and you keep those key messages in mind, you can get it all in there very succinctly and make it more interesting to the user who's going through all the content to stop and see what it is that you're doing. It's better than a static photo. The last post that I chose to show kind of a really, what I think is a well done post from Rotary International is this story on their blog about a member who is working as a volunteer at a vaccination center. You know, this individual could be a member of any one of our clubs. When you look at this, you can tell that he's smiling behind his mask if you look at his eyes. But should you have this on a phone, which would be very small, um, it's not hard to guess that he's unhappy because underneath you can see the name of his blog post is "My Best Day" as a volunteer. So there's opportunity to keep the text very short but very descriptive and let people know what they should expect. If they want a feel good story, this is the story to click on today because you've told them exactly what they're going to get. Again, clicking through, you've got the text at the top that's highlighted with the link. Very easy, even if you didn't read any of those first two lines of text. Seeing the photo, it's his best day. You know that if you click through, you're going to be able to learn more. So keeping it short but very specific. Clear is kind. I love that example. So it's pretty easy to see what other people are doing and think, oh, that looks great, but there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. It seems complicated. It seems like they have a lot of skills that I don't have. I'm just a person with a phone or an iPad, and I don't want to put something out there that doesn't look great. But there are really only three elements that you need to get right to make your posts look professional and to get people's attention. And so if there's anything that you walk away with today, I hope that these next two slides are the ones that stick with you. There are two types of posts. The first post is an engagement post. This is the post where you want them to pull up a chair and learn about our story. Now, it might be a very quick sit in a chair because it might not have an extra, it may be the story may be told fully in the post, or it might be we want you to read more of a feature-length article that you're going to click through to our website. But we want them to know what Rotary is about, and we want them to understand the good that we're doing in our community, whether it's on our own or with other partners. So I chose this example from the Oneonta Rotary Club. They didn't pay me any extra to pick theirs, but I was looking and really, I thought this was a great post that they had back in December. Not only do they have a fun image with Vicky wearing a headband with her reindeer antlers, but it's what I would call a cross promotion, because not only is it about Rotary, but it's of course about the Salvation Army and actually thanking people in the community who contributed. So it's a feel good in three different directions. So Rotary contributes to another organization that does good and appreciates those in the community who are supporting those efforts. No extra story here, no click through. It's a quick hit. But for people in that in our small communities, you know, a lot of Rotarians are well known. So featuring some of our better known members as goodwill ambassadors in our posts for all the great work they're doing is not bragging. It's actually giving voice to some of these projects. And it's much more interesting to see a picture of Vicky with her winter hat and her brass bell than it is to see an image that was pulled down from Google of, you know, the red kettle that's been used a million times before. You want your content to be genuine. So use the picture of the person who says, oh, I don't want my picture taken. Those are the best posts once you get them to agree. Don't take pictures of people who really, really don't want their pictures taken. We don't want to expose anyone who's in any kind of witness relocation program. But what we do want people to know is that we are the face of Rotary, and Rotarians are the secret to Rotary success. So it's our individual actions brought together, and you need the face to keep people in on that emotion. Speaking of the face, I couldn't resist this other post from the Oneonta because I feel that Sarah's smile in this photo is really terrific. What they did in this post was fantastic, though, because they asked a question: where is Sarah now? This was to promote their road rally event. You can see the text that's blue. That's a blue text that would click through straight to their event page. And it's creating a question, right? So it looks like she's having fun. Gosh, do I know that rocky outcrop and that flagpole? I don't know. Is it known locally? She had a series of posts like this actually to try to build some event anticipation, and they were all done equally as well as this. She was a great kind of spokesmodel for this project, and they really used social media very well to create excitement and some conversation around what they were going to be doing. So that was more planned, obviously, but planned very well and executed very well. No fancy equipment, snap on the phone, and a little bit of copy that they wrote. So action posts are the second kind of post. So engagement is where we tell our story. Just do it is where the rubber kind of hits the road. And in this case, I was really excited to see the posts about the chicken barbecue in Cortland. Very simple post. The date, the time. It's an event post where you can put lots of details for events. Everybody in upstate New York loves chicken barbecue, right? Who's not going to be interested in this? It's very clear what the message is, and it's very easy to read what it would say on your phone. They one-upped themselves, however. How much more compelling are these pictures of the smoke in the air, the chicken cooking? I feel like I can smell that Cornell barbecue sauce when I look at this picture. And by calling out in this one, this is the day of the event, the chicken is ready early, the barbecue's on, get there before we sell out. It smells great. They are keying into a common experience we've all had, whether it's been after the Memorial Day parade or at the yard sale days where we've, in any of our small towns where we've had this chicken barbecue. The call to action is the one place where they missed the mark on this. And maybe everybody in Cortland already knows where this is, but if I was driving up through Cortland that day, I would want the address. I could scroll down the page to the first post to find it, but the only thing I think is missing here is that clear call to action, so I would know exactly where to go. Otherwise, this post, I think, it exemplifies really, we're out in the community and come get a great meal. You're going to be benefiting our future projects by participating in this, as well as your stomach. Here's a place in this post as well where one of those 10-second videos could be terrific. You could have a customer that says, I wait for this every year. It's delicious. Come down, add that to the post. What's going to happen is that post is going to go even farther on Facebook without you paying for any advertising at all, because it's a video. And that doesn't really have to be scripted. It's a 5-second clip that just says, the Rotary Club of Cortland really makes the best chicken around. Come on down. So that's, I think we could all use this for our events, just to show, and if you're pre-selling the event, use a picture from past years. It's still your content, even though it may be out of date, because it's not the members who are going to be there this year. These photos are the ones that really make your mouth water. They're the ones that make you want to show up. So those real images of the people in the club doing the work are the best way to get people to respond. So we've talked about how we can get the messages out and post them for ourselves, but there are other ways to amplify the message. Once you have a terrific post and you publish it, the rest isn't magic. We've got just a couple more tricks to making sure that the effort that you put in is going to create the maximum effect with your messages in your community. This is the concept of owned, earned, and paid media. Owned media are those pages that you control. You maybe don't own your Facebook page, you don't pay for it per se, but you are the one who controls the content. So every time you have something happening, you need to make sure that you're posting it not only on your website, but on your social media pages. Because if someone sees something on Facebook and they want to find it later and they put it in Google, you want your website to show up. So putting it in both places is really important. Earned is what you're doing when you're working with other people who have their own pages and asking them to share it. So asking your club to share your social media posts is really important, because they have a network of people who could benefit, as well as whether it's maybe wanting to join Rotary or participating in an event. You want to make sure to make the ask, because most people aren't going to think of that. So when you have a post for a big event, talk about it at your club meetings and make sure that people are sharing it. If they don't know how to share it, show them how you just click the one button and you can disseminate that to all of your friend list. The last piece of this is where the rubber hits the road, and that's the money. So you can do paid posts, and paid posts are actually a really great way to target specific people that you want to reach. They're easy to create as creating your everyday social media posts. And for fundraising and fundraising, it's money well spent. It is not expensive at all. So where you're thinking of your earned media is like a press release that you would send out to your local media outlets, which you would absolutely still do. You also have the opportunity with social media to reach out to those media outlets, your newspapers, radio. They all have social media pages too. They're looking for content. So share your posts with them and ask them if they'll post them on their page. You can click the button and send it over to them, and either they'll publish it or they won't, but it's low effort. And if a couple of them stick, that's terrific. The paid posts are like buying the advertising, and Facebook is who you're paying the money to. The great news about Facebook is, though, that you can get a lot of data about what works. It doesn't cost a lot, and you can pick exactly who you want to talk to within reason. This year for the district, we have been doing boosted posts for certain events. And this is a post that we just put up in the last 10 days or so, I think, Matt. This is for the event on Monday with Sylvia Whitlock, who was the first female president of a Rotary Club out in California. I'll show you how to make a post, but just so that a paid post, but just so you can see, for this post, I spent $28.97 over 9 days. That's less than $30. Nobody can place an ad in a newspaper or a local periodical for anything that comes close to touching that. For that $30, we reached over 1,000 people. We had 92 people who engaged with the post. Post engagements means that they took an action, whether they liked it, shared it, commented on it. It was more than just seeing the ad. So the reach is who sees the ad, the engagement is who interacts with the ad. So 92 people actually did something as a result of this. They may have clicked through to register, they may have liked the post, or they may have commented, but either way, they showed feedback to the content that was there. And in this case, everything that we've seen has been positive. Sometimes you have engagement on posts that's negative, and you would pay for that too. But at this price and for the content that we are publishing, it's a really easy way to disseminate the information and amplify your messages a little bit further. It's easy to design and target these ads. At the bottom of your post, it says, do you want to boost this post? And you can say, click yes. And the first thing it'll show you is, who do you want to see your ad? And you can select. Most times I pick people who like our page and their friends. That's an audience that's already built. You don't have to do anything except for click that little radio button and the blue dot will show up. If there are things where you want to go spread it further, you can do more detail. But really, to try it at first, just click that button and you're going to be able to see how many people that you will reach. The ads themselves are already designed for you. It uses the posts that you've already created, and there are 11 possible ad types for Facebook. Plus, if you select, you can also be on Instagram with just one more click of the button. If you want to be more specific about reaching to a broader audience, let's talk about that chicken barbecue that we had in mind. You can actually pinpoint by geography for an in-person event. This is a great way to do it. So in this example that I kind of mocked up last night, I chose Morris because it's in the middle of nowhere, right? My hometown, so I know. And I decided if I was doing a chicken barbecue in Morris, I would probably make a 20-mile radius because that basically gets all of Otsego County. And you can see down at the bottom, the potential reach is 62,000 people. Makes sense because Otsego County has about 59,000 people in the county. Now from there, I could decide maybe 62,000 people is more than I want to reach. I can't really cook 62,000 chickens. So how could I limit that to make sure I'm getting the best people to target? If you click the browse button on the left, you can pick from any of these tabs and you can choose by interest, demographics. You could be looking for by gender, by age, or things that they've said they liked on Facebook. So for this case, I chose under the detailed targeting, I chose interests, I chose food, and I chose barbecue. It's very specific. Probably wouldn't do that in real life, but for this demonstration, if I select barbecue for people who are within 20 miles of Morris, New York, I save the audience. Suddenly my audience goes from 62,000 people, oops, where did it go? Down to 16,000 people. And so that might be more reasonable to the size crowd I'm trying to draw and the people whose interests I think are going to be best aligned with my event. So I'm not spending money to draw people to the event who really aren't going to be interested. If you save that audience, you can come back and set your budget. Now, the budget is inclusive of both Facebook and Instagram. If you choose that, you can choose your overall budget for an entire duration of time, picking the end date. It's as simple as click. And if you look at this and you don't like it, it's not a big deal to click back and play with those parameters some more. It's actually, if you're a data person, it's really fun to see what the different parameters can pull together as far as who you might want to target. And you can really customize that to fit the budget that you want to spend. Again, we're not talking about hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. We're talking about $10, $50. And this makes it really affordable for even, small projects or, fundraisers where you really don't have any big budget to spend. And it guarantees that you're getting out to, if you think back to those original slides, you're getting out to 80% of the adult Americans are on this platform and available to advertisers. We are one of those advertisers, and we can leverage that data that's been collected to get the message to the people that we think will be most interested in what we have to offer. They'll be most aligned with what we're offering and the what's in it for them. Once you click your duration and you're happy with your budget, you can slide that button back and forth. It'll tell you for how many, if you want to spend $12, it'll tell you you're going to reach maybe 240 people. And those numbers are all generated based on the audience that you built. All you have to do is click boost the post now. From that moment, the ad does go to be reviewed by Facebook, so it's not instantaneously live, but you'll get an email that comes back to say that it's posted. And while it's running, you can go in and look at some of those results I showed you earlier. And at the end of the campaign, it'll tell you how you did. And hopefully, if it worked well, you'll use that model again next time, or maybe you'll make a few tweaks depending on what you learned. You can stop it at any time. And if it's not working, you're not going to pay, because really you're paying for the people that you reach and the engagement. If nobody's clicking through, you're not paying. So it's really a pay to play model. It makes the risk very low. So what are our next steps after tonight? We're coming here kind of towards the end of my presentation. You might be in a couple different places. My hope for you is that you would improve your social media presence. If you don't have a social media site for your club, or it's not actively used, I'd encourage you to look at other sites and identify what catches your eye. Write posts about your club's great work. You can share those on the district page if you want to practice a little and see what works. If you want to develop your own tone and style, we're happy to provide feedback on that. And we're also happy to spread your messages, as we're all in this together as the same district. If you don't have a site at all, I'd be happy to help anyone who wants to build a site, build a page and kick off a page for your club. It is not hard to do. If you can use your smartphone to take a photo and type up a few words, it really is that simple. For the people who are online today, I know most of you do already have an online presence. So my challenge to you would be, how can we make our posts better than what we're doing today? And I think that's continuous improvement is something that we should all work for, because there's always more content out there. So it's worth looking at every post and making sure it's the best that we can be. So before you post, think about those 3 critical elements before you click publish, right? You want to make sure that you have a strong image, a clear call to action, and something that speaks to your audience that they're going to find engaging. Ask members of your club and your community partners to share and return the favor. It looks great when we work together with other organizations in our community in person, right? It feels great to show our community that we as volunteer organizations have the greater good of the community in mind, and that we do that in partnership. That's the same way on Facebook and on Instagram. Sharing and liking each other's posts furthers that identity as we are connected and part of the greater web of providing care and support and volunteer activity within our community. If you have topics that would benefit from a broader reach campaign where you would want to make an investment, I would be happy to work with anyone who wants to set that up. We can do a Zoom call and talk you through it. I promise it is as easy as I said it was, and we could do it in probably a 20-minute phone call to just go through the steps and identify what's the best way to get your message to the people who need to hear it most. Beyond the resources that I've talked about tonight, there is a terrific library of information on Facebook, and all you have to do is put in Google, how do I create a Facebook ad campaign? It will take you directly to the area of Facebook where there are free online classes. And that seems maybe more onerous than it is. If you were to click on how to create a Facebook ad, there is literally these steps that you click on that plus button and it pops down and it tells you in very simple language, do these 3 steps, and it will walk you right through it. So if you ever want to try it, and this is the way to get there, they make it simple because they make money every time we place an ad. So they're invested in making this very easy for someone who does not have a technical bone in their body. They are successful if we are successful in using these resources. There's a lot of content available made by independent publishers, also on YouTube. We talked about YouTube earlier as a great place to learn how to do things. So if you're someone who's an independent learner, likes to try things on your own, take a stab at it. There's the risk factor is low. If you're someone who is a learner who likes to work with others, I and others are available to help you with that. And all you have to do is ask. That concludes my presentation for tonight. And if there's anyone who has questions, I would be happy to answer them now or to connect with people offline to talk about specific situations that they may want to investigate further. Any comments? Hey, Tony.
Hey, a comment and a question.
Okay.
The first comment is no, Cortland does not make the best chicken. Dryden does. And
okay. Fair enough, but I didn't research Dryden's post, so I can't comment on the Facebook post for Dryden. I'll have to look into that.
Well, we have some with some good looking chicken on there, but
okay.
Anyway, question. So I ran into this in trying to do a paid promotion for one of our events, our Mystery Dinner Theater. Is that Facebook uses a lot of algorithms. It isn't a person generally that reviews things when you submit an ad, and they use a lot of algorithms, and sometimes the wording that you put, right? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of things. So the ads do get reviewed through software first. And so one of the first things to be aware of is that they don't like if you put it can identify that there's text on top of a photo. So the cleanest way to do it is really to have a photo with very little text and put the balance of your text in the actual text box that you type in. If there's too much text in percentage basis to the photo, it just won't get passed because they think that's a poor user experience. It's hard to read on mobile, and you'll get declined right off the bat for that. There are other things they're looking at. In my professional life, they don't like ads about any kind of diet topics, even if it's coming from a hospital, or political ads get extra level of scrutiny, and we can all understand why that might be in this current day and age. You want to keep it, if you follow the guidelines that I set about keeping it clear and simple and pretty succinct, you shouldn't have a hard time. I think where people get tripped up is that they think that they need to put every single thing in the Facebook post to make sure nobody misses a really important detail. What's actually critical to use the Facebook post for is to catch someone's attention so they take action. And once they take action, that's your opportunity to add all that extra information. That will make it easier for you to get your Facebook ad through because it will be clear and simple. Now, here's the thing that is true. If your ad does get rejected for whatever reason, you get an email. It will tell you that it's been rejected. You can click through to find out why. and you can ask for it to be reviewed a second time. I had events actually that we set up for the district in the fall that had gotten rejected because there was this higher level of scrutiny before the election. So any event, when I was talking, I don't know if it was about social, I used the word social justice because that was part of the presentation I was promoting, which was clearly not political in my mind, but was to them. I had to submit and say, well, this is actually a community event where we're having a speaker come or whatever. And it was actually reviewed and released as approved in less than 6 hours.
Yeah.
So typically, like if I have a trouble, if it doesn't get passed and I put in an appeal, by the next morning it's resolved. Or, I have had times where I'll be the first to admit I get a little overzealous with the amount of text on top of my images because I love to do that work. It's fun for me. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, time out. What's best for the person who's trying to read my ad? So I have to kind of reel myself back, put a simpler image up with a little less text.
Yeah, I got caught in the political one because this was our mystery dinner theater, and it was because I had the word murder and just the description of the event, because it's a mystery dinner theater, right? It's about a murder mystery.
Yes.
It was very difficult. Yeah, I had to do quite a bit to actually get that one through because
So
of the
there are
language
some,
was
yes.
really
So there
difficult.
are some trigger words, right? Murder is one. If you're a true crime junkie, and there are a lot of them out of there are a lot of videos where people tell true crime stories. And what on Facebook, when they play in your Facebook watch, which is that video feed, the people who create this content will literally bleep out the word murder because they know it'll get caught up by the censor. So you'll see an M on screen with a line when they have their kind of text to speech that you can follow, because the censors are so afraid of putting out, I think, unsavory content.
Yeah,
The basic premise of Facebook is the more you like, the longer you stay. It's addictive. And the longer you stay, the more ads Facebook can present to you. And that means they make more money. So their game is really make sure we present right content to the right people so that they don't set their phone down. It's addictive.
Yeah.
So those are some kind of keywords. If you'll know when it comes back, but in your case, the murder mystery dinner theater, that I'm sure put you in a real bind, because what else are you going to call it?
right.
So we had another hand up with a question. It's not Doug, Barton.
It's it's
Gail?
Gail. It's Gail from Owego Rotary, and I have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So do you think social media is the most important way to recruit new members?
Oh gosh. No, I don't.
Okay.
I think that we are the most important way to recruit new members.
Okay.
And that is through one-on-one conversations with people who we think will enjoy our service projects, who will enjoy our programming, who will feel a sense of satisfaction by being more involved with their community. I do think that social media is the most important way to create our local brand image, because it's something that's very affordable, and it gets the news into the community about what we're doing, who we're helping, what opportunities we have, whether that's fundraising or friend-raising. People want to know what they're getting into. So a true story this weekend, I have a friend who's she's a chemistry teacher in Vestal, and she and I have, our children are similar ages. And she was like, my kids are getting older. I want to get into something. And I said, hey, let me tell you about the Owego Rotary Club. When I moved to Owego, this was a great way to meet people, and the programs are really interesting. And she was like, I'm going to do some research on that. It sounds really good. Well, she wrote back to me later that night and said, I don't think I can join because I'm not a business professional. Well, Gail, you and I know we have lots of teachers in our club, retired and active. And so there's no reason why she wouldn't fit the definition, but the content she found online didn't fully tell the story in a way that if had I not said to her, no, you should come to a meeting, I think you would like it. And really you qualify as a potential member. I needed to kind of overcome some of what her research had shown her that made her think that she really wasn't suited for this opportunity. In a time when we're trying to grow membership, that's a really big red flag. So the more content that we put up that shows our diversity and our opportunities is really going to help us as we have those conversations. It's really the support pieces for people who are considering Rotary or maybe wanting to learn more because they've been to an event or a fundraiser that we've had.
Okay. And if I can, I have two other questions. How do you get the community members to even want to go on to look at a local Rotary Facebook page?
It goes back to the what's in it for me question, I think. The
Okay.
content has to speak to them. If it's about our ugly sweater party, which was for Rotarians and family members, they're not going to care about that, nor would we expect them to. I mean, it was a great event for our people, but that's not content that's really applicable to the community at large. What you want to do is to tell to make sure the way that you pose whatever post that you're putting out there that you want them to care about, to pique their interest. So I love that example I showed you from Oneonta about the road rally. What's I can't even remember the member's name. What is this woman doing? You ask a question, and people who know her are going to share it, and they're going to comment on it. They're going to have, they're going to have feedback. You could see, if you go to their page, you can see some of the comments underneath the posts. And the more people who interact with it, the more Facebook is going to share it for free. Then you also have that opportunity to do a paid boost where you could actually target people. So make sure that the content is relevant, though, to the broader audience, and written in a way that is engaging before you make those investments to ask people to share. And you want to have a strong post if you're going to ask people to invest their time and energy in helping you get that word out or putting money behind it.
Okay.
Last question. Did you have?
And my last question is, this is, I guess, more of a philosophical, how do you reconcile the service above self, which is the Rotary way, with the what's in it for me?
That's a great question, Gail. It's a means to an end. So there's a difference between a feature and a benefit. I could tell you that the foundation did 27 projects last year because of the donations of Rotarians. I could tell you that story a little differently and tell you that last year, 1,326 people's lives were improved because of Rotary. The what's in it for me there is, if I get involved, I have the potential to feel good. It's like doing an ask for a foundation or for something with a greater good. You want to make it emotional in a way that it's compelling to people who want to be involved. So what's in it for me doesn't mean that you're going to get a free half a chicken if you come down to a Rotary meeting, right? Like that's a very base what, what's in it for me could be something very finite and, free gift with purchase. But I guess when I say what's in it for me for Rotary, what's in it for me is the fellowship with folks like the people who are on the call today, or the opportunity to help people who maybe are struggling a little bit, or an opportunity to make my community be more appealing because I'm going to do a cleanup project, and have pride in the local community. So the what's in it for me really has a broader meaning than just a faster car or a bigger tiara. It's really about the emotional pull.
Thank you.
Orv, do you have a question?
I have a comment. To that end, you could start with saying something like nearly 50% of people over 65 have no purpose in life. If you fit in this category, I will guarantee we will give you a purpose.
That is where, very well said, Orv. That is so true, because the what's in it for me there is stop being purposeless, get off the couch and come hang out with us. We're going to do a lot of great stuff, right? Matt, yes.
Listen, like regarding promoting an event and doing a boost, do you think for what we're trying to accomplish, that's more successful, or sharing with, I share with 30 groups. I'm always sharing to groups. Do you think that's successful?
Meaning like you take the post and share it into the Dryden Club page, or you take the post and share it into the Syracuse page. Organic sharing is going to get prioritized because you are a person, a consumer, whose attention they're selling. So if you share it into the if you take a post and you share it into the Dryden page,
Mhm.
they're going to show it to a group of people because they're basing it off your sharing it means you think it's relevant, right?
Mhm.
I think that that's a great way to get traction, but unless you've got a viral video of Orv doing something really silly, the kind of posts that we have are probably not going to gain the kind of momentum that would be necessary to totally mitigate what you could get for a low cost through a boosted post. So I would never not share it organically. We should, that's why on that list where it says, make sure you publish it every place you can. Ask friends, family, community partners to share it, your club members. Those are always the most important. But when you have something that's critical that you need to raise a certain amount of dollars, I mean, what's spending $30, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's very, very low entry price. And you only pay if for the people who are working with you. You can set a maximum budget. That doesn't mean they'll spend it. I've many times set and in my professional life set a budget that's, you know, whether I'm selling a primary care service or I'm, you know, talking about a joint replacement informational class, I can set the budget at a certain point. But if people don't click, I don't pay.
You could promote people, Rotarians with aches and pains. That would probably be successful.
I could probably sell the aches and pains audience back to the healthcare organization, and that probably would be as long as it was HIPAA safe. Any other questions or comments?
I just have a comment to make.
Sure.
The thing I was thinking about during the presentation was I do some advertising for another organization, and I'm not sure everybody is aware how expensive newspaper ads really are. But I will tell you, based on my experience for the concert series I promote, it costs us $160 for 2 very small ads we always put in per concert. And the reach of the newspaper is a certain number of readers. So in terms of efficient use of advertising money, what you're describing, Melissa, there's a lot more bang for the buck than that. I wouldn't give up the newspaper ads for sure, because that's a major pull for us. But to add this in would cost us very little more.
So Joanne, that's a really great point. And I can tell you from before I was at Guthrie, I was working for Bassett in Cooperstown as the marketing director there. I did buy newspaper ad buys for 9 count. I would buy them for 9 counties. I would place a quarter size black and white ad. And this is going back now more than 5 years that the rates will have gone up in the 5 years since. But to be able to buy 2 quarter page ads so that it would run more than once in about 22 newspapers, everything from, you know, a daily, and this was not the Binghamton papers, mind you, these were all of the small town papers. The biggest one would be the paper in Oneonta, but the papers in Delaware County that come in, and the weekly paper coming out of New Berlin or out of these other small towns, I could spend $15,000. It would cost me $15,000 to have 2 quarter page ad placements, black and white, not color. But to be able to hit a region that's smaller than what our district is doing. So to get the messages out about our district events, I mean, you know, the difference is obviously staggering. And I can target that it's not just going to anybody who gets the paper. I can make sure that it's going to people who are more qualified than just the readership of a particular newspaper.
I also had one more question, since I was having a crisis with my computer and got on a little late. Has this been recorded, and will it be available on the district website? So
Let's speak to Evan. Yes, Evan is recording it.
Yeah.
That's good. And Evan, you will send the how to get to it out, I trust, right?
It'll get posted one way or another.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thanks for sending me the link so I could finally get on.
No problem.
Thanks, Joanne. Any other questions or comments before we wrap for this evening? skimming through here. Don't see any others. I hope I haven't missed anybody.
I'm going to stop recording.